Hey, I'm Jason Biggs, and you're listening to Beyond the Plate with Cappy. I'm an aviation geek. I subscribe to different aviation-themed newsletters, the magazines. Jenny calls it my plane porn, just magazines with pictures of airplanes I could sit and read for hours and hours.
Season 3 of Beyond the Plate is presented by Martin's Famous Potato Rolls. Hey everyone, this is Cappy, and you're listening to Beyond the Plate, a podcast where I sit down with the world's culinary elite to explore their journey with food and their passion for giving back. Every episode, we share inspiring stories of what it means to be in today's hospitality industry. This season, we welcome a group of celebrities that have a connection to the world of food. Whether they host a food show, have a cookbook, or simply give back through food, we're excited to have them join us on Beyond the Plate. Season 3 of Beyond the Plate is made possible with the help of our friends at Martin's Famous Potato Rolls. Martin's Potato Rolls are the #1 branded hamburger bun in America, and as I like to say, they can make almost any burger taste better. I have to confess, I recently had a family barbecue in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where my father-in-law lives, and I had a big package, well, it was actually 2 boxes, of Martin's products shipped to Tulsa, because they aren't there yet, hopefully soon. Anyway, it made the barbecue that much better. Martin's believes in giving back to their community. They support hundreds of charitable organizations such as food banks, after-school programs, disaster relief, and others. To learn more about Martin's, visit their website at potatorolls.com or follow them on social media at Potato Rolls. Martin's, we thank you. Okay, back to it. For this episode, we sat with the one, the only, Mr. Jason Biggs. We caught up with Jason. It was only me on the line. I caught up with Jason. He was at home in New York. We chatted mostly about his life in food, as little Jason Biggs up to the current Jason Biggs. Talked about a recent trip to Israel. His wife just got bat mitzvahed. Super funny story. A recent pizza tasting or pizza crawl. I don't know how we want to phrase it, but we talk about New York pizza, I don't know, for like half of the episode. I exaggerate a little, but we talk about it a lot. We talk about what he cooks at home, what his wife cooks at home, about his kids, his wife Jenny Mullen, how hilarious she is and how great of a writer she is. If you don't follow Dictator Lunches on Instagram, you must. And last but not least, how they give back to their community. Oh wait, also, he's on a new show that's coming out soon called Outmatched. Check out the trailer on YouTube. It's hilarious. All right, for the more formal stuff, Jason Biggs is widely known for his role in the American Pie film series. Yes, that Jason Biggs. His talents span across film, television, and stage. Next up, as I mentioned for him, is the Fox live action family comedy Outmatched. He was most recently seen in the independent film Who We Are Now, opposite Julianne Nicholson, which premiered at the Toronto Film Festival. He was in Orange is the New Black. He is the voice of Leonardo in Nickelodeon's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV series. And most recently, Biggs also starred on stage in the Heidi Chronicles as Scoop Rosenbaum on Broadway. Dum-de-dum, just a couple things here and there. I'll stop there, but please enjoy this conversation, because I sure did, as we go Beyond the Plate with Jason Biggs.
Hey, man, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for hopping on the line. Where are you now?
In New York. We live in New York at the moment, so that's where I am. It's nice and rainy here. You're in Chicago, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm based in Chicago. I'm on the road a ton, but here now. So when I talk to friends about you, the thing that people seem to love most is when you're on a talk show or on your Instagram feed, it all feels very real and hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
Have you always been an open book like that?
That's a good question. I like to think so. I've probably become more so as an adult, as I've gotten older, I'm sure. And in particular, since I met my wife, who is sort of the definition of an open book, I'm sure I've been inspired by her to be even more honest. But even before, it's part of the reason why we actually get along so well is because we both sort of came to the table with very open personalities and very transparent. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of the American Pie effect, really. Like to sort of come out of the gate and have the first thing that I'm known for be this movie that in which I do these really sort of crazy things. It's sort of how do I explain it? It's like, I don't want to say like, oh, I can get away with more. It just means I just think like there's little that can embarrass me.
Right.
I feel like there's not much that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm super glad you remembered your Instagram password the other day because, there's a picture of your ass, basically. Well, not basically, there's a picture of your ass.
There is. There sure is.
So no fear in that, I suppose.
Yeah. No fear, really. I mean, I've always kind of prided myself on being someone who would do anything for a laugh. And I kind of got cast in the perfect role with American Pie in that sense. And yeah, it's sort of that, but that same sort of no fear, nothing makes me uncomfortable attitude it applies to almost every aspect of my life, I would say.
Yeah. So I'd say we sort of know the adult Jason Biggs, but what was Jason Biggs like as a kid?
Oh boy. Probably what I remember being confused. I was a kid actor. I started when I was 5 years old in New York City. So I was like a professional at a very young age, but I was also, just trying to be a regular kid and had, went to a normal public school in New Jersey in the suburbs. And, so I was kind of like living like these two sort of separate lives. On the one hand, I was like a professional actor working with adults in New York City. And then on the other hand, I was living in small town New Jersey I was just a regular kid playing sports and going to school and trying to make friends. So to say that was confusing would be a bit of an understatement, but it certainly made me who I am today. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, it certainly made me an outlier in terms of Hollywood. And by the time I, was cast in American Pie, I'd already had sort of all this experience under my belt. But otherwise I was, if you take that huge component of me being a professional actor away, I'd say I was a normal kid. I was, fairly normal kid. Nothing too extraordinary or atypical about me.
So take us to your family table in New Jersey as a kid. Do you have some memories that stick out?
Oh, sure. Well, I grew up in an Italian-American household. In a very Italian-American neighborhood in New Jersey. And so, Sunday was sort of the big day for us. I was a latchkey kid. Both of my parents worked. I'd come home after school and, you'd sort of make yourself a snack. And then, if my mom got home in time, she'd quickly put dinner together. Sometimes, maybe she cooked the night before and froze something, or maybe she cooked on the weekend and she froze something and we would have to take it out and defrost it ourselves, or, so during the week, things were sort of unpredictable and kind of scattered. And, mostly it was my mom sort of rushing something together, but, always getting us fed, Yeah. But then the weekends, obviously, from what I remember, there was certainly more effort put into it. My mom would, on Sunday get a sauce going and, some pasta, depending on the time of year, maybe there'd be a London broil going or a pot roast, something, but Sundays tended to be a little bigger. And of course it were early dinners, Sunday, for an Italian-American household, we're talking about a 2 p.m. dinner,
Sounds like my Thanksgiving every year.
Exactly right. Yeah. So that I remember those Sundays very fondly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So was mom the main cook at home, or did dad ever cook?
Yeah. Mom was the main cook. Dad never really cooked, although I remember stories. So when my I would have to travel for work when I was a kid, and I'd move places for months at a time, depending on what job I had. And there was a stretch where my mom and I were living in LA while I was doing a TV show. And so my dad was back with my sisters, and, and he was, in charge, I guess, of cooking. And, what my mom would try to do was every time we would come back home, my mom would literally just cook like for days and freeze as much stuff as possible for my dad. But my sister always recalls, still to this day, makes fun of him because he would make the spaghetti, but she called them stuck in spaghetti. Because he would make this pot of spaghetti, and then all of the pasta noodles would be completely stuck together. And you'd pour the sauce on it, and then you'd go to eat it, and you'd just like pick up, and it would just be one huge thing. All the spaghetti would be stuck together, because he forgot to put olive oil or butter in the pasta after, before you put the sauce on.
Yeah.
It never occurred to him,
Did you ever help cook when you were a kid?
Not really. A little bit. We would sometimes get put on whenever we were having like meatloaf or something that required a gravy. We were in charge of gravy, of stirring the gravy for, because it was sort of it was a task that, was really boring. And, my mom would be busy doing something else, paying attention to the side dishes. And I'd be standing there on a stool, just stirring the gravy for, however long.
Nice. So I know you're super into food, but do you remember the first thing that you ate that you were like, holy crap, that's good?
I remember the first time that I had crab legs, because it's funny, my dad is an amazing eater in terms of quantity. This is a little dude, all right? He barely breaks 5'5". But he literally, at his old job, they once flew him to Chicago, actually, to have a steak eating contest with a guy in the company's Chicago office. I forget where. They might have gone Gene and Giorgetti or something. But my little dad went out there and downed a 48 or 64 ounce steak or something insane. But anyway, but he doesn't have a very diverse palate. He's very sort of pasta, pizza, meat, potatoes, right? But he can put it away.
Yeah.
But my mom was always a little more adventurous and liked fish. And I always kind of followed her lead. And I just remember the first time I had crab legs, and I believe we were down in Ocean City, Maryland. And I just was like, wow, this is terrific. I need more of this in my life. So as a kid, a little bit of exposure and, a few memories like that, where I remember trying something that I hadn't tried before and thinking, wow, this is cool. This is new. There's more than just meat and potatoes out there. But it wasn't really until I moved out on my own and even it was, once I started traveling, travel is an amazing thing because you realize how many different kinds of cuisines are out there. So once I started traveling when I was in my early 20s, that's when the exposure really happened. And I just loved it. I mean, I still will try absolutely anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you mentioned earlier, this jogged my memory. When I was doing some research, I hear that you used to be a killer tennis player, right?
I don't know about killer, but but I did play tennis in high school. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was there like a go-to meal when you would come home, or was that like maybe?
Nope. No, not so much a go-to. There was a deli across the street from our high school that, had the typical Jersey deli fare. You could still get a Taylor ham and an egg sandwich there, even at 3 p.m. after school. So I would rock that sometimes, or just a bagel, buttered roll, kind of the standards. And then, after a match, yeah, again, it sort of was one of those things, hey mom, what's for dinner tonight, and she'd be like, I don't know. Let me, I think I have some meat in the fridge. I'll make a meatloaf real quick. It was kind of,
Yeah.
it was kind of very ad hoc, very fly by the seat of your pants kind of thing.
Got it. So wait, so in 2000, I think it was 2002, you were in a Broadway production of The Graduate with Alicia Silverstone.
Correct.
And she was recently a guest on the podcast and she spoke extremely passionately, as I'm sure you're aware, about a vegan lifestyle.
Yep.
Do you think you could ever be vegan?
No, I guess is the short answer. No, I mean, look, I certainly appreciate it, respect it, understand why it works for some people. I mean, look, I am an animal lover, and I do believe that, especially in America, the food industry has gotten completely out of control, and it's horrible, particularly the poultry, beef, dairy industries. I mean, it's really horrible.
Yeah.
So in terms of, from an animal rights perspective, I totally get it. I totally get it. That being said, I believe for me, there's a happy, sort of middle ground, which is I want to continue to eat meat, but I want to try to eat meat that, is
like responsibly
raised.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, the good news is we live in a time where that is obviously a thing, right? It's very sort of easy now. It used to just be, New York, LA, but now for the most part, people are catching on. People want to know that their food was humanely raised and treated. And so it's easier to get that sort of stuff. Obviously you pay for it, but it's possible. So that's the way I try to live my life. But yeah, so I don't think I can. I mean, there's a world in which, I don't live in New York and I hunt for my own food. I mean, there is something about that I appreciate so much. I've hunted before and I've eaten the meat that I've harvested, and there is honestly nothing more satisfying on so many levels. And to me, that's the ultimate sort of sustainable diet.
It's really interesting you say that, because I wonder if it's like a feeling you get when you do that, because you just reminded me, I went to culinary school in New York and I had this one chef, and I mean, this is pretty intense, but I had this one chef instructor that if someone didn't want to watch like an animal being like broken down, like butchering, or wouldn't try a food, he always said, if you wouldn't kill it, don't eat it.
You're right.
And I was like, whoa, damn.
I think that is, but I totally get that. I totally buy into that philosophy and understand why he would raise that, pose that question. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I wish I could do more of it, honestly. I wish I had more of an opportunity to do that. But, I once hunted an elk, and, these are big animals, and he was about 700 pounds, and I probably got about 200 pounds of meat out of him, and I had a freezer filled with meat that my friends and family and I shared in that bounty for the longest time. And it was amazing. And every single time we ate some of that elk, there was something so, it was even more delicious. Granted, elk is incredible meat to begin with, right? It really is flavorful. It's lean. It's beautiful meat. But there was something extra special about that, knowing that I had, harvested it myself. There's something really cool about that.
Yeah.
Satisfying. Yeah.
That's super neat. Moving like later ahead in life, you briefly mentioned your wife and how she got you to be more of an open book. One of the other things my friends love about you is your wife. So Jenny, you guys have such a great relationship. What is the secret? The Bachelor cannot be an answer. What is the secret to your success?
That's very funny. We just really have fun together. I mean, I think, I married my best friend. I mean, she's hilarious. I think she's funnier than anyone I know. I don't know if she would say the same about me. She only because her ego couldn't handle it, but I know she thinks it. I know that she thinks it.
Yeah.
I know she thinks it.
That's so funny.
And we just really get along. And I will say this, in keeping with my open book policy, we've been in couples therapy since before we were even married. So for us, there's really something about just bringing everything to the table, being honest about your feelings, and learning how to communicate them. It's all about communication. I mean, if you're going to, I've had past relationships, and I see friends of mine with the kinds of relationships where they don't talk about how they're feeling. They end up, swallowing their feelings, and it leads to just horrible resentment. And then eventually it just all blows up, So if we can kind of just sort of put out the little fires as they rise, it makes it so much better in the long run, So I don't know. I found that that's sort of, we've been able, I mean, it's easier said than done, but for the most part, that's what we've been able to do. That's sort of our philosophy.
Sure. And wait, so she was recently bat mitzvahed?
Yeah. So
was this in Israel? This was in Israel?
It was, yeah. So we went to Israel for her 40th, and she brought up the idea of getting bat mitzvahed at the Western Wall. And, I had organized this entire trip for her. And first of all, it had been kind of a pain. She was, she was a real pain in the ass about this trip because she couldn't quite land on where she wanted to go. For me, last year for my 40th, it was very simple. I knew exactly what I wanted. We booked it. We were done. Jenny was really, she just couldn't decide. And so by the time we finally landed on Israel, time was, we were already sort of crunched for time. And I put this trip together, not trying to pat myself on the back, but whatever. I got the trip organized, booked restaurants, did all this stuff. And then she brought up, it might be cool to get bat mitzvahed at the Western Wall. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, don't worry. I already talked to somebody who knows someone, and I'll deal with it. And I said, okay, fine. No problem. So I booked the rest of the trip, handled everything. And then wouldn't you know it, about a week and a half before we're going to leave for Israel, she's like, so anyway, would you mind looking into finding someone who can do the bat mitzvah at the wall? I was like, wait a minute, what I thought. So anyway, ended up finding a rabbi, actually an American guy who's been living in Jerusalem for 40 years now, and he did it. He did this amazing service for Jenny at the wall on her 40th birthday. It was really beautiful. It was really just a very cool experience. Really moving. That's
super cool. Wait, so this was recently,
This was last week.
So I'm sitting here emailing you about scheduling a time when you're in freaking Israel, like in your wife's getting
so.
Yeah, I'm a jerk. Thanks.
No, listen, man, that's the beauty of email. It's like you never know. It's just kind of you send it out into the ether, and hopefully you get a response back.
Yeah, I was emailing, and then I went on Instagram, and I was like, wait, what? I'm like, what an asshole. His wife's getting bat mitzvah, and I'm like, let's schedule a time.
Funny. No worries at all.
All right. So let's talk pizza. The lovely world of Instagram. Your wife's Instagram story. Was that her father that was just in
That was
town?
her father. Yeah, so that was her father.
Did you order in from multiple places and like this continued on throughout the weekend going to places?
So no, so it just was, we had gone, I took him to a few different places over the weekend, but it's funny. Her dad let me give you a little backstory about her dad. First of all, he's a doctor. He's a health freak. Okay. The guy is, I don't know if you could tell from her video, the guy is 74. He's ripped. Okay. He swims a mile every morning. He walks and runs every day, bikes. He eats really, really well, but he has certain things that some quirks, like he every morning eats a Granny Smith apple with Jif peanut butter. Okay. And the man loves bread and pizza, loves it. Right. So like he clearly didn't get the no carb memo. He kind of skipped that whole like Atkins thing altogether. dude is not shy about eating his carbs, but it doesn't matter because you look at him, he's just like in the best shape ever. So he loves pizza. So of course, whenever he comes to New York, when he would visit us in LA, our last house that we had in Los Angeles, I built a wood burning oven. So I would make my own pizzas. And of course, he was in heaven. Every time he would come over, I would make all these different pizzas for him, and he loved it. He's still my biggest fan when it comes to my cooking. I have to say, I love him. He loves my cooking. He loves my pasta too. So I made on Thursday night when he was here, I made a homemade sauce for him and made some chicken and the whole thing. And he's just the best. He's the biggest fan of my cooking. I love it. It's so good for my ego. It makes me feel like a real chef, even though I'm the furthest thing from it. But on Friday or Saturday, was it? Saturday, he's like, I'd really like some pizza tonight. I said, you got it, Doc. And at first I was just going to kind of throw out some options, talk to Jenny, kind of figure out which place we should order from. And then I was like, wait a minute, why do we have to decide? We don't. Why don't we order from a few different places? Yeah. And so we ordered, I think in the end, 4 different places. And, we just went with the plain, pie from each place, nothing fancy. And we just had a fun taste test. And our results were almost identical. In the end, we differed on our numbers, number 1 and 2. We had them switched. I like this one place a little bit better than the other, and he was the opposite. But
wait, can you share where you ordered from?
Yeah, of course. So we ordered from Bleecker Street Pizza. We ordered from Joe's Pizza, the original Joe's. We ordered from Village Pizza, which is this little hole in the wall on 8th Avenue and just below 14th Street.
I don't think I've had that.
Yeah, it's on the west side of the street. And it's you'd walk right past it. It's just one of those slice joints that, but it's one of my favorites, certainly one of my favorites downtown. And then the last place I decided to sort of switch things up and give them go with a grandma pie. So I ordered from Prince Street Pizza. I ordered their square pizza. Yeah. Just to sort of give, throw a little curveball in there, So Bleecker Street was the first one to come. It got to us within 20 minutes. Okay. And of course we had he's like, I'll wait for the other pies to get here. I said, no. We have to eat it while it's hot. We're not going to do that. I was trying to time them all out to come at the same time, but that didn't work out. So I was like, whatever, have a slice. So right out of the gate, he was like, oh man, this is fantastic. This is going to be tough to beat. And so for him from there, it was all, it was just, the bar was set really high, and there was ultimately no one that ended up usurping Bleecker Street for him. He was Bleecker Street number 1.
Wait, where does he live?
He lives in Phoenix. He's in Phoenix, home, of course, of Pizzeria Bianco, Chris Bianco's place, which is fantastic. And, I love that pizza as well. But, I wanted to do, and that was the other thing, on Saturday night when we made this decision from where to order, I intentionally left out Neapolitan, right? I figured I just wanted to go New York style pizza, and because, that opens up a whole nother world, right? So we just stuck with New York pizza. So for me, Village ended up being number 1. Bleecker Street was great, but for me, Village has a really sort of perfect, even distribution of cheese, has a bit of a chewier crust, which I like, a softer, chewier crust. Bleecker Street's got a tangier sauce, which sometimes I like, sometimes I'm not as into the tangy. But yeah, Saturday night for me, Village Pizza was number 1, and then Bleecker Street number 2, and then followed behind by Joe's, and then Prince Street brought up the rear.
Nice. So, I will be going to Village Pizza for sure. My next trip to New York.
You got to try it. It's just it's cash only. And by the way, that was the only one. The other 3 places I ordered off of apps. Seamless or Postmates or Caviar. Village, you got to call up. You got to tell them your address, and you got to have cash when the guy shows up. Just as if it was 1984.
I was just going to say. Okay, so this is hilarious. Not to sidebar, take time on this, but what my wife and I lived in New York for almost 4 years. When we moved back to Chicago, it's been like 9 years now. everyone's like, oh, you got to go here for pizza or here for, whatever. And we're from here, so we know, or we thought we knew what we liked. Right. So we're like, you know what? We're going to do a pizza off. And so we ordered deep dish pizza, 1 cheese, 1 sausage from 5 different places.
Ooh,
and
nice.
I picked them all up and I put them all in blank boxes so nobody knew what they were trying.
No way.
And so made everyone go through the line and put, just ranked them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is everyone thought they knew what each of them was, but they're like, that's Lou Malnati's hands down, but it wasn't. It was Paisano's, which is very similar to Lou Malnati's. So it was super fun, but we wound up doing this for ribs and mac and cheese and Chicago Italian beef. So we did it for fried chicken. I'm telling you the story because we did it for fried chicken, and Chef Lee Wolin from Chicago.
Of course.
And so Lee's like, dude, let me make you fried chicken out of my kitchen, but we're not telling anybody that I made it. So we got fried chicken from 4 solid Chicago fried chicken places. And then Lee made one. And of course he killed it. And everyone was like, where the hell is this from? Because it was seasoned and herby and delicious. And I was like, that's Boca's fried chicken. They don't sell it. It was super fun though.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Meanwhile, I want in on that. I gotta hit up Lee, dude. I want some of that Lee Wolin fried chicken.
It's so good. So his newer place, Somerset in Chicago.
Oh, the Somerset has it, right?
Well, Somerset I think has it, and I feel like it's the only thing people ordered, so they moved it to only Sundays, but he does a version of it as a fried chicken sandwich on the lunch menu, and it is out of control. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Really good.
Dude, he crushes it, man. He's so good.
He's super talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love eating his food. A podcast about pizza. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So does Jenny cook too? Or do you guys order in a lot or eat out mostly, or kind of a combo?
I'd say it's a combo. I'd say it's pretty evenly distributed amongst the sort of 4 components, right? Either I cook, she cooks, we order in, or we go out. I would say I might cook maybe I cook a little bit more than she does. I've also had, my schedule has allowed me to a little bit more. Jenny is pretty disciplined in terms of her writing schedule. So she's kind of off writing. And if sometimes my schedule is clear in the afternoon, so I can kind of invest a little bit more time into doing a full meal. For example, making sauce and everything the other day when Jenny's dad was in town, I had the afternoon, so I did a whole thing. Jenny also, how do I explain this? I have more recipes. I also am good at following recipes if I want to try something new.
Yeah.
Jenny is way more abstract, not just in her, cooking, but in life, I guess.
Off the cuff?
Off the cuff, and more just what Jenny's great at? Jenny's great at a one pot, meal. She's great at soups. She's great at stews. She's great at salads. She's great at anything where you can just kind of throw a bunch of stuff in a pot, season it up, and kind of add or take away as you need. When it comes to following, when it comes to math, forget it. She's like, I'm out. Math doesn't belong in the kitchen. She's like, I want no part of this. Whereas I'm very precise. I mean, I have, I have an immersion circulator. I sous vide my meats. I like the precision and the math and the technological components to cooking. So we just have different approaches. And then, of course, in New York, it's obviously super easy to get anything you want here by ordering. And now made even easier with the proliferation of all of these apps. And then, it's, we try to, even though we're kind of homebodies and we're lazy, I just love, going and trying all the new restaurants. So, I'd say we get out maybe once a week. We try to.
Any recent favorite places?
I got to tell you, it's not super new. It's new-ish, but Auto Mix.
I'm dying to go there. It's the Korean place?
Oh, man. Dude, it is legit.
I need to try that. This is their second one, right?
Yeah, they have Auto Boy, and now this is their second one. And this one's a more, fine dining tasting menu situation, and it is dynamite. They're killing it over there.
All right, I gotta try.
They're killing it.
That's good to know.
But I'm behind, man. I'm behind. I had some, all for good reasons. I was working. I was busy. We've been traveling a lot, so I haven't. I'm a little bit behind on my spots here. I got some catch up to do. In fact, there's a place I really need to go, imported from your town, Au Cheval. He just opened up down in Tribeca, and of course I'm dying to get my hands on that egg burger.
Yeah.
So I've got to get down there.
Yeah. Do you guys have that like never ending dinner discussion or decision? My wife and I, it's like, hey, what's for dinner?
Where are we going to go?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you feel like? I don't know. What do you feel like? I could do a burger. No, I don't want a burger. I could do barbecue. No, I don't want barbecue. Well, what do you want? I don't know.
Yep. Oh, 1,000,000%. And then you're annoyed at the other person for not coming up with anything, but then they come, or you come up with something and they keep putting the kibosh, but then they're annoyed at you for not coming up with something. And you're like, wait a second, I just presented 5 options to you and you said no to all of them. So why am I in trouble for not coming up with a dinner plan?
Thank you.
Yeah. So annoying. Yeah. We have that all the time. Now, do you have kids?
I have 9-month-old twins.
Oh my God. Wow,
yeah.
Dude, congrats.
Thank
But what's
you.
interesting, 9 months, so they're, either, not my business, but they're either breastfeeding or on formula or something, I presume, right? So they're not really, they probably started to have some solids, right? Some stuff. But once they are legitimately part of the dinner conversation and you have to figure out, the whole thing changes. Enjoy the freedom now while you can to be like, oh yeah, barbecue, burger, whatever. Because once you're ordering for them or cooking for them, not only does the timing of it all change, right? Because now suddenly Jenny and we don't eat dinner past 5:30, even when we're going out by ourselves. You know how
you could get into any restaurant.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like all these new spots, it's like you try to get in, it's like 5:30 or 10:30. It's like we're psyched.
Like perfect.
We're like amazing. We'll take a party of 2, 5:30, please.
I always say, I say to Katie, my wife, I'm like, I can't wait till like they could just eat the food we eat, but I'm always like, wait, maybe I can wait. Like I was saying, I'm like, I can't wait until they're down to 1 nap so we could go like and do anything. But I'm like, wait, maybe I can wait because that second nap time is nice to get shit done.
Exactly. Yep. It's so true, man. It's all, there's always the opposite side to everything. So even when you're like, oh, it'll be so nice when they're potty trained and you don't have to change their diapers anymore. And then all of a sudden you find yourself like having to take the kid to the bathroom in the middle of the restaurant or the middle of a movie. And you're like, God, I wish you were still in diapers. This would be so much easier.
Yeah. Oh God, we just traveled with them for the first time 2 weeks ago, visit my father-in-law in Tulsa. And it was like a small, like 2-2 plane.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as they shut they're like, oh, boarding door close. And then Leo, our little boy, of course, like takes a crap. I'm like, nuts. Jesus, Leo.
No.
And then I had to wait till we were like 10,000 feet or whatever and change him in this like tiny bathroom. I'm like, this is not fun, but I could say I did it.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, check it off the list.
Do you remember the first thing you cooked for Jenny or first thing she cooked for you?
Let's see. First thing I cooked for Jenny. Oh my goodness. I think the first thing I cooked for Jenny, because we met in the summer, so if my memory serves, and it also just makes sense, it's sort of in line with how my summers in Los Angeles were, but I barbecued a lot, right? So I think the first thing I cooked for her was a piece of fish on the grill. I think a piece of salmon. And then of course I had a steak as well. She's not much of a steak eater. So that was probably the first thing I made for her. Jenny, for me, it's actually a very funny story about how on one of our first dates, she was like, maybe like our 3rd or 4th date, I guess. She was like, I'll cook for you. And I went over to her apartment and she had a Thai food. It was gorgeous, like curry, like a yellow curry and some rice. And, it was like, there was like wrapped in banana leaf. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And she totally was like, yeah, I just kind of threw it together. And I was like, well, really? This is like amazing. And then of course I discovered the takeout containers in the kitchen later on. And I was like, wait, were you not going to tell me? She's like, no, of course I was. I was like, no, you weren't. You were literally going to like get away with lying about cooking Thai food. You little shit.
She's like hiding takeout containers in the microwave.
Yeah, she was. She was like, well, I was trying to impress you. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. But I do remember remember, Jenny is very sort of like, kind of anything goes, not a lot of thought into preparation, just like, here's some food, here's some fire, let's marry the two and eat some food. So like, I do remember she was staying in this apartment complex, and I went to go over there one night, and she had just like gone to the store and picked up a bag of shrimp, and she literally like just opened the bag of shrimp and just dumped it out onto the grill. Like there was no, seasoning. There was nothing. And as each shrimp cooked, she would take it off and eat it. So there was no plates. There were no plates. There were no napkins. There was no seasoning. There was absolutely nothing. It was just shrimp dumped onto the grill. And then so I was just like, it was kind of every man for himself. And I'm just sitting there, like literally pulling shrimp off of the barbecue with my hands, eating them. So that was like one of the first meals she cooked for me, not the Thai food debacle notwithstanding.
That's so funny. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about kids a minute ago, and you have two sons. So Jenny's all over their school lunches, which she has this dictator lunches,
yeah.
Which is insane in an amazing way. I guess I have like a boatload of questions. Are there like major likes and dislikes with your kids in eating, or family rules when it comes to eating with them?
No, I have to say, so far, they've both been really good about trying anything. We've kind of instilled in them this willingness to try something at least once. And then if they don't like it, we're not going to be the parents that sort of force them. Like, you're not getting up until you eat all of your so-and-so. I mean, we kind of, it's more like, look, if you're not going to eat, that's your dinner, So I encourage you to eat it. And 9 out of 10 times they finish their plate. We had Sid's first nanny when he was born was from Guatemala. And so Sid has been eating rice and beans and pupusas, homemade pupusas since he could, eat solid food. And so he's got a really kind of interesting palate. He likes sushi. He goes for it. But he's also just now at like 5.5 years old, starting to discover like things that he doesn't like. Like he's kind of like, I really don't like that and don't want to eat that again, and I'm hoping that'll change again as he gets older. I mean, I remember I hated mushrooms when I was a kid. Couldn't stand when my mom would cook them, the smell in the house of mushrooms. And now it's one of my favorite foods. So I know it's all going to change and stuff, but, and then Laszlo is just a beast. He just literally eats anything that's in front of him. I mean, just anything goes with him. He's incredible. He's like my serious eater. But the dictator lunches thing, it's, for Jenny.
These lunches, I encourage anyone and everyone listening to check out that Instagram. They look like if there was Michelin stars for lunches, or like she'd have one for sure.
Oh my God. That's sweet. Look, she's more than anything. I mean, it's not just the photos. You really gotta read the captions, because Jenny is a writer first. I mean, so it kind of started where, she wanted to make these lunches for Sid, and, it was her way of, connecting with him and sort of, because he would go to bed, and then she would be able to sort of make these lunches for him after he went to sleep. And it was, she would put little notes inside, and it was just a sweet thing. It just really started off pretty innocuous and innocent. And then she just started really getting into it, and she would start to see pictures online of other people's lunches and how they would do it. And she got all these, she got inspired from all these different sources. And so it took on a life of its own, and she created this Instagram page. And the captions, she creates these stories. Each sort of lunch is in theme. And she creates these funny stories. And so, she really makes a point to expose him to different foods. And, we don't always expect him to eat everything in the lunchbox. In fact, most of the time he doesn't. But at least, a couple times a week, there's some new thing that he's never seen before, and he usually tries it, and he might not finish it, but at least he's getting exposed to it. And I think that's sort of Jenny's biggest, that's what she hopes. And as do I, the most, is that he's sort of being exposed to all these foods. Because, look, I grew up, really not exposed. I mean, it was very sort of, like I said earlier, kind of pasta, meat, potatoes. Lunches at school were just a sandwich, brown bag sandwich, maybe an apple, maybe a Twinkie, and, that was it, man. That was sort of food. So, the fact that we can, expose him to some of these other things is I think a real, it's a real luxury. It's a real cool thing. So
it's great. I'm reading a super cool book. I had Neil Patrick Harris and his husband, David Burka, were on this season of the podcast too. And they had mentioned this book they read called Hungry Monkey. And it's a food writer from Seattle that wrote about his journey feeding his daughter.
Oh, wow.
And it's super interesting, and it's everything. It's more entertaining. I mean, I don't want to say I knew it all, but it's essentially a lot of what you're talking about, exposing them to things. Because listen, my almost 9-month-olds, like if I'm eating something, they stare at it or they'll grab at it, and I could like say, no, and keep them away. But I'm like, hey, all right, you want to try this lemon cake? Like take a little bite or,
Go for it.
So
yeah, totally.
That's super cool. So, all right, switching gears super briefly, you have this new show coming out, I believe. The premise of the new show, Outmatched, is pretty brilliant. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, man. It's called Outmatched. It's a multi-camera comedy on Fox. It's going to premiere in January after the football season is over. It's going to be on Thursday night. Fox this year has Thursday night football. So it's going to be, when the football season's over, we'll come in on Thursday nights. And the premise of it is really simple. It's, I play a guy married to his high school sweetheart. The two of us are, blue collar, South Jersey, not super smart, not dumb, just kind of, real average. And we just happen to have 3 kids who are certified geniuses, just off the charts, ridiculously smart. We have no idea how to communicate with them, how to talk to them, how to relate to them.
The trailer's like pretty hilarious.
They're like aliens in our house. And then we have a 4th kid who's, not so smart, and she's our favorite. She's our favorite, of course. So yeah, it's that's the gist of it. It's kind of a Malcolm in the Middle meets Big Bang Theory kind of vibe, and hopefully it'll be fun. We had a great time shooting the pilot, so I'm psyched that we get to do a few more of them. Yeah,
that's awesome. So what's easier, playing a dad in real life or on TV?
Oh my God, on TV, way easier. Yeah, even despite the fact that I have in the TV show, I have like a 16-year-old daughter, which was not wonderful for my ego. I was like, there's no way anyone will believe that I could have a 16-year-old daughter, but apparently people buy it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's God. I wish someone was writing my lines for me in my real parent and child interactions every day.
Yeah, that's funny.
All
right, so I have a few more questions under the social impact, giving back, which is a big portion of this. Like for this podcast, it's quite often chefs we speak with, and I always say how people don't realize how giving they are beyond what's on, a plate that you eat in the restaurant. So for this season, we've had some pretty good conversations, and I've come across some various things you've done, as I know many, celebs do, whether they're events or using their voice for something. But can you share any causes or organizations that you and Jenny are passionate about?
I actually kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. We're big into animal rights. It's funny, we're involved in a lot of charities, animal charities, specifically some here in New York. And a lot of our friends that are involved in these charities are either vegetarian or vegan. And, in that sense, we're kind of outsiders, but it's interesting because we still believe in the causes so passionately. We actually do a lot of work with PETA, and people think like, oh, okay, like Alicia, right? You think, you obviously have to be vegan, and you have to, but we've done work with them on their campaign to shut down SeaWorld and get the killer whales sent to sanctuaries. We've done work with them in trying to get elephants out of the circus. So it's funny, we've done a lot of work with PETA, despite the fact that, I still eat meat. It's funny when I work with them and when I talk to my friends over there, we just try to, I just try not to mention it, But, the truth is, like, look, there's a lot of different ways that you can get involved over there. And, they'll take the help any way they can get it. So, yeah, so generally speaking, that's where our, that. And then now that we have kids, obviously, when it comes to kids and medical charities, we're kind of, we step up whenever we get asked,
I mean, I imagine you probably get asked a lot to attach your names to projects. Is there like a way you generally decide, or?
Yeah, it's if it's coming from, well, obviously if it's a charity that's close to our sort of, that either we've, either us or our kids or a family member has been involved with or has needed, obviously that's sort of the first thing. But if it's a friend coming to us who needs a favor, who needs help because it's something that he or she is passionate about, we 9 out of 10 times step up and do it. And, look, it's like, as long as it ties into our core belief system, there's nothing bad that can come of it, right? Like, why not? If we have the time, we might as well give back.
And does she have her own foundation?
So it's her dad and her stepmom have a foundation that's based out in Phoenix called the Mullen Foundation, and it deals with childhood obesity and food. It's food based and exercise based, and like I said earlier, her dad is a real sort of health nut, and and just has done amazing things for the community out there. He started a 10K 44 years ago that's still running every year. It's now a half marathon. It's incredible. It shuts down the entire downtown Phoenix for a Sunday in November every year. It's amazing. And so he does a lot of stuff like that, and we're involved with that as well. And that really aligns with Jenny's and mine, but really Jenny's beliefs about food and health. And so, yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, is he specialized in children's pediatrics? Or?
No, he's a DO. He's an osteopath, and he, but he's just always been very, he raised his kids to be very health conscious and sort of aware of what you were eating and aware of exercise. And, he just, for better or for worse, by the way. I mean, there's some might say if you pay too much attention to that stuff, I mean, there's arguments to be made for everything. But at the end of the day, I happen to fall on the side of, look, pay attention to what you eat and try to exercise. Right. So, so yeah, so he's just always been involved. It's really cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
And last question about this. Do you remember the first time or a moment that inspired you to give back, or that you gave back that you remember?
That's a really good question. I don't actually remember. I just remember after the first American Pie movie came out, there were a lot of people. Suddenly I was exposed to all these different events and charities and all this different stuff. And it sort of, before that, it never had crossed my mind. You kind of just, you kind of grow up and you, at least where I grew up, kind of live in a bubble, and, there's so much world out there, and there's people who are in such different situations than you. And so the moment where it sort of really occurred to me that, I have something that I could give back, but because of, this sort of fame that I have now, I can actually bring attention to some causes and actually help some people and bring a smile to some people's faces. So that sort of happened after the first American Pie. I started to get invited to these things. And at first I was like, what? You don't want me. But then it occurred to me like, oh, actually, there is some value and I can actually help. And it was very humbling, very humbling.
That's great. Yeah. That's very cool. All right. Quick speed round. What did you have for dinner last night?
Last night, oh my gosh, what did I have for dinner last night? See, this is the problem with having kids. Last night, what did we have? Leftovers? Oh no, last night we Jenny's still riding high from our trip to Israel. So we ordered some falafel and hummus and some Israeli food from a place over in Soho. But it was also, it was a supplement to some leftover for the pizza that we had the other day. And some chicken as well that the boys had left over from the other night.
Awesome. Yeah. Name a smell in the kitchen that you love.
Oh my gosh. Roasted, a whole roasted chicken, garlic chicken.
Name a smell in the kitchen you hate.
Burnt ocean trout.
What makes you happy in the kitchen?
What makes me happy? If I'm cooking multiple things at the same time, when everything is going and sort of in their sweet spot. So got one thing in the oven, one thing on the stovetop, or two things on the stovetop, and everything's mixed and done, and now everything's just sort of cooking, and I get to clean up. While everything's cooking, I get to put everything away. Thomas Keller, I'll never forget, he said, you clean as you go. You clean as you go so that when the food is served, you can actually sit and enjoy it with everyone. And that is something that has stuck with me so hard. So when I've got everything sort of made and it's cooking, I just attack the sink, and that's just sort of my happy place.
So smart. Yeah. What's your favorite thing that Jenny makes?
Soup. In the wintertime, she makes a kale soup. So good.
What's her favorite thing that you make?
I make a garlic pepper chicken that she loves.
Awesome. Thank you. Looping back around to that number one, you reminded me, I wanted to say this earlier. If you guys haven't been, there is an Israeli restaurant in Philadelphia called Zahav.
Zahav, yeah, Solomon.
So good.
Yes.
Michael was early season 1 on this episode, but such a good dude.
Is he?
Yeah, and super talented. He's actually he's got a few places, but he's opening another, I feel like it's like an Israeli cafe soon, like within the next few months in Philly also.
In Philly, yeah.
Yeah.
He's good, man. Yeah, he's good. I need to get down to Philly and do Zahav. There's a few spots in Philly. Yeah, I also want to do Vetri. I need to do. It's been a while, man. I got to get myself down there.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple questions in closing. Given that you're an open book, what should people know about Jason Biggs that they may not?
Oh, gosh. I'm an aviation geek.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm an av geek, as we call ourselves. I subscribe to different aviation themed newsletters, emails. Jenny calls it, I used to have the magazines. Jenny calls it my plane porn. Literally just magazines with pictures of airplanes. I could sit and read for hours and hours.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I could identify.
Cool.
I could identify any airplane in the sky, any airline.
Really?
Yeah, I'm obsessed.
Wow,
I love it.
Very cool.
Random.
I love it though. I feel like when I was a kid, I loved airplanes, and I don't know if I would consider myself an aviation geek. Although I travel a lot, and still every time I take off, I'm like, how the hell is this happening?
How are we lifting off? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I have these apps on my phone that like a flight attendant would be like, oh, we use this weather app because it shows us where turbulence is. And I'm like, so people are like, what are those apps you have? I'm like, flight attendant told me about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, So one final terrible question that my producer is making me do. Last time you ate pie and your favorite kind of pie?
Let's see. The last time, let me think, was it Thanksgiving? I mean, it might have been Thanksgiving, unless actually I had, like in early spring, I had a chicken pot pie. I ordered it somewhere. So I had a savory. But in terms of sweet, the last time I had a pie was, oh no, actually for my birthday, just 3 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with someone about how much I love pecan pie. And she sent me a pecan pie from the Dutch, Andrew Carmelini's place in Soho. That was phenomenal. So my favorite, I think my favorite would be pecan. I also am a big pumpkin fan. Big pumpkin fan. Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I could
same
literally
here.
especially with a little Cool Whip on top, I could destroy a whole pie in one sitting.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for taking this time to chat. I really appreciate it. It was, man. Lee's had great things to say about you. And
awesome. Thanks, Cap. I appreciate that, man. And listen, give my best to Lee. That's a good dude right there.
I will, for sure.
And thanks for I'm glad he hooked us up. And I'm sure we'll cross paths again soon. Hopefully we'll be able to break bread one day. Maybe some of Lee's fried chicken.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome.
Quote about giving back: as long as it ties into our core belief system, there's nothing bad that can come of it. Thanks again to Jason Biggs. Find him on Instagram at BiggsJason. Join us next week when Beyond the Plate presents Just the Plate, a short segment where our guests describe a dish or a recipe that is meaningful to them. You can find me and keep up to date with this podcast across all social media platforms at On Cappy's Plate, or go to BeyondThePlatePodcast.com. Beyond the Plate is on Twitter at BT Plate Podcast, and we are on Facebook. This episode was produced by myself, along with Ian Cohen, Joel Yeaton, and Chant Petrosian. Big thanks to Andrew Glatt. Our music was composed by Goldford. Find him at iGoldford. As always, a special shout out to my wife, Katie. Thank you. Please rate, review, and or subscribe to this podcast on your listening site of choice. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Plate. I'm Cappy, and remember, there are never too many cooks in the kitchen.